And welcome everybody to another edition of the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host Dan, aka smAsho. We've got tons of stuff to talk about once again. Let's get into it. Here's the local yellow dwarf, otherwise known as the Sun, in 94 angstroms. We see some activity rising, both down here and up here in the east. A failed sunspot setting in the west, and a coronal hole wind stream on the way, expected to arrive today or tomorrow. So we could get into geomagnetic unrest conditions. We'll keep you posted, especially if you financially support the channel. And thanks to all those who do, including our latest patron. Next, we're here at helioviewer.org to take a look at the fields, which gives us some indication of any sunspot activity. We don't really see any of that. We see a little bit of magnetic organization happening in the northeast, right up here, but nothing resembling a sunspot. Here's a 304 angstroms view. Lots of filamentary activity here on the eastern limb associated with those active regions. And we've got some custom vids for you. By the way, we are streaming live to Twitch. Thanks to everybody who tunes in over there. Here's one of our custom movies here, and allow me to vanish. And here's a one-day video of the North Solar Polar region. If you're wondering if you've been watching Gina Maria or Gina Maria, that is not a spaceship. This is not a spaceship. None of these things are spaceships. These filaments over here are not spaceships. And here's a view of the southern region, including the South Pole, as well as the setting active region there on your right, and an active region rising on your left. So cycle 25 behavior all around. And for that, we thank you. Please leave a comment if you have a comment to leave directly for the sun. Let us know if you think the sun is sentient. I know lots of people seem to think it is. I am agnostic when it comes to that. We'll let this play through one more time so you get a good view of the southern polar region, as well as those active filamentary areas. And then we'll move on and look at more data and keep this thing moving, as there's a lot of stuff to cover. Next, the real-time solar wind, showing us recent shifts in the phi angle, as well as the BTBZ. So the top pane, that's the BTBZ, total field and orientation on one of the Z fields. It's just recently moved back in the northern territory here after a brief stint in the southern territory. Current phi angle is around 328, having gone through some shifts here. These are coronal hole magnetic connections, as when the plasma is out of the way, the magnetism can connect to the Earth. Little uptick here in solar wind density over the past 10 hours. Current solar wind density 8.24 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed 347 kilometers a second, having reached a high of about 390. So it looks like a little bit of a just random ejecta striking the magnetosphere there. And speaking of the magnetosphere, here is a model of it. It's the University of Michigan Geospace Model V1.5, and this is 4 hours of data. We try to compile this daily. And since that refreshed, let's let that play all the way through to get a solid feed. By the way, please pardon the blue flames behind me, as they are associated with raging. And I am trying to chill out. It's part of the reason why my voice is shattered. If I sound extra gruff, that's why. Next, looking at ground magnetic perturbations during this magnetic excursion, this geomagnetic excursion, when we've got two north poles, one over Canada and one over Siberia, And the South Pole isn't even on the Antarctic continent anymore. It's somewhere southeast of Australia. There's 4 hours of ground magnetic perturbations. And again, we try to compile it daily. If you're wondering what happened 6 months ago, go look at our six-month-old daily space weather video, and you'll know. Again, thanks to our patrons, our latest patron. For those of you not understanding our patron scenario here, we've got 2 membership levels, just $1 a month, which is the intro tier or the limited benefit, and the gold member tier, which is $9.99 a month. Thanks to all our supporters there, and Unsubscribe Star, and our one-time donors on PayPal, etc. Please visit the links below the video and help to support the channel in various ways. Check us out on social media also. Thanks to all our YouTube viewers. Whether you view on YouTube or on BitChute, we do have links to our Patreon as well as to smAshomash.org. So check out our web ring. We've got lots of playlists as well and lots of interesting content for you. Our numbers are absolutely pathetic, and we consider the entire YouTube channel an abject failure. So thanks if you've interacted in any way, and don't be surprised if the channel is suddenly deleted or set to private. We're also on BitChute, thanks to our subs over there. Up to nearly 200 subscribers there, and we get hundreds and hundreds of more views per day at BitChute than we do at YouTube. And welcome to the Smash Lights section. The section where we talk about whatever we want, no matter how scary it might be. Congratulations on, you know what I'm talking about here, and oh my God, let's put up some mood music. All right, let's get on to some substantive stuff here. And let's talk about how spooky and scary the media, governments, and corporations have made that out to be. The little Chinese virus. Could you say China? Now, I'd like to train everybody watching today's video to learn how to say China like Trump. So all you got to do is say it out of the top of your face. Don't speak from down here like an actor. Do not speak from deep within. Speak from up outside the top of your face and say China as if you have a sinus infection. China. China. It's spelled C-H-I-D-A. Now, one of the proponents of China is Joe Biden, and let me play a horrifying clip from him if you haven't heard it yet. Congratulations. Let me ruin your day.
I got hairy legs that turn blonde. In the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down, so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again.
So if you don't follow me on Instagram, you won't see brilliant stuff like this. We've got over nearly 3,000 posts. Did you know that Wal Thornhill, one of the proponents of electric stars, a thing that's not real, actually advertises for probiotics? Who knew? I mean, it's obvious that it must be Wal Thornhill, as there's a lightning bolt pointing right at his head. Congratulations on your sponsorship by this probiotic company, whoever it might be. Cheers. Let's talk about some cosmology stuff. An array of radio telescopes reveals explosion on the surface of a hot, dead star. Now, there's no such thing as a dead star as far as I know, as mankind has never seen a star born or die. This one's V407 Cygni, and here's a little video about its progression. Let's blow it up full screen. And you can see the interesting dual, or actually a trilobe outburst there. You can see it. It's kind of, it's outbursting sort of in this direction and this direction. Is that the Hall effect? Yeah. Congratulations. I mean, it might be. Some stuff in the universe is electric. However, stars are not fundamentally electric. And this is another interesting scenario here which refutes mainstream astronomy and cosmology. Why is that? Well, it's because they're referring to this as a hot, dead star. It's because people don't really understand and are very flippant and arrogant about stellar evolution. By the way, if you want to watch the transients for V407 Sig, the star featured in that article on phys.org's Astronomy and Space section, just head to the Neil Gorell Swift Bat X-ray Observatory and type in V407. and you'll find V407 Sig. There are the X-ray transients from it. And we actually saw an incredibly strong X-ray transient here only about 22 days ago. So that's how you read that, by the way. So if you look at this pane here, this is the multi-year pane, and 0.15, where this one came out, would be way off the chart. 0.15 would be, oh man, what did I do here? All right. 0.15 would be way above this. I mean, it would be somewhere like up here. Anyway, those are just the X-ray transients. Let's look at one more popular target. It's Cygnus X3, otherwise known as Deneb, part of the summer triangle. If you're in the northern hemisphere, it doesn't set all summer, and we've gone back up from a quiescent state now once again. So we watched this ramp down to a quiescent state, and now it's coming back up again, up to about 2.5, which would be around here. So now it's in a more average state. Cygnus X3, otherwise known as Deneb, the star at which Göbekli Tepe's monuments are oriented. Again, if you want to watch transients on your own, don't take our word for it. Watch them at the Neil Gorell Swift Observatory, the Burst Alert Telescope, which is monitoring X-rays on a lot of sources. How many, you ask? 1,026 at the current moment. Let's talk about the HR diagram. The HR diagram is called the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram, and this is how stars are classified. Now, this has to do with the nuclear fusion dynamo model of stars, which is clearly incorrect, as it characterizes stars as a gaseous plasma when stars are clearly made out of a condensed matter, as only a lattice structure could emit the sort of solar spectra and do all the other things. So check it out. Here's where Deneb falls on the HR diagram, and it's completely off of the scale. Why is that? Because the HR diagram is simply based on luminosity and surface temperature, which totally throws off the whole thing. It's a mystery as to why Betelgeuse does this, why Deneb does that, and why all of these on the main sequence, as it's known, do the other. Also, white dwarfs refute the nuclear fusion dynamo solar model. If you want to read about it, just look up HR diagram, the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram. And again, this is all based on the nuclear fusion core dynamo model of the sun. And just bear with me 1 minute. I just want to make sure everything is in order here. So this gives you some idea, and this is a model that was come up with in the late 1800s. It's completely outdated, and it's not backed up by observation. So the theory that most mainstream astronomers believe is that there's a nuclear fusion core that's fusing hydrogen together into helium, and it's releasing incredible energy, and its photons are traveling through conduction, through a convective zone, and it's completely in violation of all the laws of thermodynamics, pretty much. Stars are made out of condensed matter, and they're not electric, fundamentally speaking, and they're certainly not made of a gaseous plasma. End of story. Let's talk about Betelgeuse, Betelgeuse, Betelgeuse. Some new studies out showing that the likelihood of dust causing Betelgeuse's dimming, or major changes in terms of its diameter not being the cause, it looks like there were giant stellar spots taking up nearly 70% of its surface area. Giant stellar spots, star spots, kind of like sunspots, but ultra huge, since they're on a thing that's about the size of Jupiter's orbit if it were in our solar system. Betelgeuse, looking more and more because of terahertz wavelength studies. So it looks like that dimming of Betelgeuse that was so popular a little while ago produced giant star spots. And you can see some idea of it there in that December 2019 image. Telescopes measuring radiation from the spectral range of submillimeter waves known as terahertz radiation, not tetrahertz, terahertz. whose wavelength is 1,000 times greater than that of visible light. Invisible to the eye, astronomers have been using them for some time to study interstellar dust. And again, it doesn't look like it was dust that caused it to get 20% less bright. An asymmetric temperature distribution is more likely, a thing like a sunspot, but ultra huge because, again, the star is ultra huge. Another article on phys.org. And let's get back to the spooky, scary spookiness of the scary spookiness, propaganda and nonsense of thing that's not particularly deadly. And now we're going to hear all about cases. Oh no, there are a lot of cases. See, here's the way it works in a normal, non-broken world, folks. We quarantine sick people, and if sick people must go out, then the sick people wear masks. People in surgical bays wear masks. People who work in nursing homes wear masks. Not healthy people at the grocery store. That is complete, total, 100% and utter COVIDiocy. That thing is made in China, and it's not particularly deadly. By the way, if you'd like to hear about it, well, we'll refer you to smashomash.com/forum in a moment. And welcome to the new pathologized totalitarianism. Oh yes, so now this can be summoned at any moment, data can be cherry-picked at any moment, and your entire state, country, or planet can just be locked down because of the scary, spooky, apocalyptic pandemic. So let's talk about pathologized totalitarianism. The genius of it is like an old joke about the devil. His greatest trick was convincing us that he doesn't exist. The greatest trick of this is existing that it's dangerous for healthy people, and that healthy people should be quarantined, and that, oh no, everybody is a viral vector. Most of you are probably immune naturally to this, and by the way, the best thing you can do to prevent coronavirus is to be healthier. So focus on your cardiovascular health. And look, if you want to wear a mask, feel free. If you think you're sick, wear a mask. Don't try to get me to wear a mask when I'm not sick. That is nonsense. So I'm in favor of disclaimers. And hey, it's just a harmless piece of cloth, right? What could possibly go wrong with having entire areas of people wearing masks? It's just a harmless piece of cloth, right? By the way, if you want to hear about emotional well-being, here's an interesting survey. I'll just read a clip. This one is from SciTech Daily. Understanding the psychological side of this pandemic has been somewhat neglected because there is so much else that is of concern right now. Paulson said, our survey findings indicate that the anxiety and depression related to the emotional impact of these events are pushing more and more people into the clinical category of what is diagnosable as a mental health condition. We want people to seek the help they need. Now, I'm somebody who suffered from PTS about 9,000 times, and I was a serious skateboarder from 1983 to 1993 or so. And it's all about getting back up, folks. Some of us are a little bit less susceptible to trauma because of experiencing it so many times. I don't recommend it, and don't mess with your pain threshold. That'll ruin your day too. But check this out. Let's talk some good news. It turns out that an Alzheimer's drug is effective against diabetes-related amyloid plaque circulatory system damage. So, while a bunch of stories are going to be slipping under the radar, we're not letting this one slip under the radar. Good news, great news, in fact, as Alzheimer's disease and diabetes are two extremely pervasive problems because people refuse to focus on their cardiovascular health or know much about nutrition, period. Everybody wants to simply take a pill, and perhaps we've found one. This image here is showing the surface blood vessels of a mouse not treated with M3, the experimental compound which stops the actions of beta amyloid plaques. So the left is the non-treated mouse, and the right is the treated mouse, and that's higher surface blood flow levels being shown there in a measured form. So great news once again. It opens up the possibility that scientists can develop a medicine that inhibits the actions of beta amyloid plaque base 1, with the evidence suggesting it may not only halt the progress of the disease in blood vessels, but could reverse it. Because basically, folks, your power comes from within, and you have incredible abilities to heal yourself, unlike these folks right here, Pennsylvania's top COVIDiots, Governor Tom Wolf, and Pennsylvania Physician General, former NCAA linebacker Dr. Rachel Levine, who are for some reason making health decisions for us in Pennsylvania. And to you two plutocratic corporatists, that's an awful nice government you got there. Be a shame if it shuts down, huh? Anyway, I'm thinking about making merch in this form right here. What do you think? As I've survived the global pandemic, your ancestors survived things much worse than this global pandemic. What say you? I think we're going to maybe sell these shirts for $25 plus shipping each, as I like to poke fun at things that are scary and spooky, because some of us aren't scared or spooked at all by things that lots of people think are scary and spooky. One thing that's not scary and spooky at all, where we're busting entropy on the regs, is at smashomash.com/forum. If you want a timeline on COVID-19, head to the free-for-all forum. And by the way, the whole thing's free-for-all. We're nearly to 1,300 registered users. Click on the free-for-all forum and scroll down. We've got a 30-plus page timeline starting back on January 23rd. The last updates were back on May 29th. Why? Because I stopped covering it, because I find it to be irrelevant to reality. Anyway, the first thing I said about it in the forum was, is it dangerous? Not particularly for healthy people. What are coronavirus? And where did they come from? So if you want to read all about it, it's a timeline all the way from January 23rd to May 29th. And thanks for tuning in to the Smash Lights section. Let's move on to some more stuff. And again, congratulations all you daily space weather types for surviving a global pandemic. Let's get back to data. 10.7 centimeter radio flux is still at 69. So here's the most recent couple of years of radio flux as we come off of a solar minimum, and for that we thank you. Now we're seeing some little increases here in the GOES X-ray flux as we see 2 active regions rising in the east. Don't be surprised if we see some sunspots and some X-ray flaring happen. No proton events happening right now. No big dense streams of plasma particularly striking the magnetosphere. No surprises there. We are solidly in the North Pole oriented current sheet shown here in green. And you can see evidence of these active regions on the Gong2 data. This is the top view ecliptic plane field plot as if you're looking at the sun from the North Pole. And for you new viewers out there, this is stereo A and this is stereo B. They both have magnetometers, and those plus 51 ground-based magnetometers on Earth get the data. Keep in mind, it's 3 hours and 51 minutes old. Let's see if we have a later one. Oh, there's a later one. 1 hour and 38 minutes old. And as we stated yesterday, we are well in the North Pole-oriented current sheet, and that's the reasoning for the sudden striations in the GOES magnetometer. And I don't have time to fully explain it right now, but there you can see that moment going from dense plasma to diffuse plasma causes that to happen, as we are either directly or indirectly associated with solar magnetism, or I should say directly or less directly associated. Anyway, there's the GOES magnetometer data. You see those spikes. Those are associated with different plasma densities on the surface of the Earth-facing sun. Next, looking at stereo A, and we're going to see a coronal mass ejection here. On the non-Earth-facing side, for you new viewers, Earth is out in this direction from stereo A's perspective. And this is the best tool that we use to see coronal mass ejections. It's part of the Integrated Space Weather Analysis Center, the ISWA. And I've pressed a wrong key, and I apologize. That is the danger of live streaming. So here's the view from the SOHO coronagraph. This is between the Earth and Sun. Nothing too special there, although we do see a comet once again right here. You see that that's not moving with the rest of the... Well, it appears to vanish. It looks like it winks out. I think that's a comment. What say you? Leave us a comment. Leave us a comment about the comment. And there's been a lot of people seeing comments on these things lately. And it's nothing to get a boner over. Next, looking at things in the solar system and seeing some troubling stuff on theplanetstoday.com, as we can advance it a week. We can only get to July 2nd for some reason. Maybe that's when the world's going to end. Looking at in-the-sky.org to see what's going on above my head, as I'm always interested in it. Right now it's 4:43, 4:44, that's a good number. 4:44 a.m. Do you know where your stars and constellations are? If you get up before dawn, you might see Venus rise, as it's getting pretty high in the sky now. I should probably go outside and see if I find it after when the video's uploading. So yeah, you should be seeing Jupiter, Mars, and Venus. I'm not sure if Saturn is already set or if it's up there, and I don't care. GOES electron flux has come up off the floor a little bit here, and we're seeing slightly rising levels, but we're not expecting to see this at as high levels today, as we're seeing a coronal hole wind stream arriving, and that provides an electron shortage. So here's the total electron content, and we're seeing some anomalies here over the Central Atlantic, Mexico, Southern Florida, and the Caribbean, but not very significant ones. Here, I'll rock that back and forth so you can see those slight anomalies there at nighttime. You can see pretty significant electrons there above those areas even at midnight. Next, looking at just the ionosphere layer, this one here is the total air column. The ionosphere, here's 6 hours of data on that. And the nighttime side is highly discharged and highly anomalous, especially in the southern hemisphere. And it's a pretty anomalous ionosphere. Once again here, it's pretty wobbly. You can see it's a little discharge on the daytime side, reaching only 8 megahertz. And a little charged up on the nighttime side. No surprise with what we just saw in the total electron content. And let's look at earthquakes. Small deep quake struck Alaska, and shout out to Brett. How are you doing? Are you still watching the content? How's your back? We hope you're feeling better, and we hope you're out of the hospital soon with no other concomitant problems. Here's a deep quake in Tajikistan. It's a 4.6 magnitude coming in at 12:53 UT yesterday, 133.9 kilometers depth. So no real big quakes here. This might be the biggest. It's a 5.6 at Ascension Island region in between the South American and African plates. Let's continue up the list, citing anything odd. Again, no quakes over a 6 magnitude. Here's an Indonesian 4.9 magnitude quake, which came in at 6:27 this morning, just a couple of hours ago, and it's at 191 kilometers depth. If that happened at the surface, it would be like a 5.4. And another small deep quake at a 3.2 magnitude striking Alaska. Let's look at volcanoes next, here at volcanodiscovery.com. Tajikistan is back at it and producing a 22,000-foot tall plume of ash, or 22,000 feet above sea level at least. Mount Abico, flight level 14,000 there. Turrialba back on the list. Produced a sporadic plume of ash and a nearly 12,000-foot ash plume, more like 11,000 feet, as 8 small explosions were recorded. Sangay exploding as well, 19,000-foot flight level there. Revenador exploding, flight level 15,000 there. Sabancaya, continuous ash emissions as it explodes as well. Produces a flight level of 24,000. Please do not attempt to fly your John Denver style ultralight over that caldera, or you'll end up like John Denver, who, by the way, died in an ultralight crash. Next, we're on windy.com, who's changed the colors of the pressure for some reason, and I hate it. This is high pressure, and this is low pressure. I don't know why they would do such a ridiculous thing, but we're going to play it anyway. By the way, windy.com does have a great mobile app, and we're advancing this into the GFS pressure forecast. So the first thing I would note is that this low pressure right here is anomalously moving to the north as opposed to the east. And let's continue on here. We'll pause this at 12 noon my time, and I'm located in Lehigh Valley. Thanks for everybody who is letting us know your location. We got a strong low here off of the coast of South America, and for you meteorology noobs, low pressure systems rotate clockwise in the southern hemisphere and counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere, there could come a day when we do in-depth meteorological forecasts and so on. And I'd like control back of my computer, windy.com. Again, they have a great mobile app. You should check it out sometime. Let's talk about climate. Now, this gentleman here, known as Schellenberger, published an article on Forbes, which was almost instantly taken down. So Zero Hedge was kind enough. Zero Hedge was kind enough to put up the article. Let's read some tidbits. Now, actually, before I read any tidbits, let's talk about me for a moment. I became an environmentalist whack job in about 1987. I took an earth science class in 8th grade, and while that 8th grade science teacher had later revealed himself as a complete COVIDiot, everybody believed that Florida would be underwater by the year 2000. About 1/3 of the state was expected to be underwater, and everybody believed this. Everybody believed that carbon dioxide was the climate control knob because, hey, why would scientists and science teachers lie to you? Well, there's a lot of reasons. And let's scroll down the article here so you can read it if you like just on the video. Anyway, Schellenberger apologized for 3 decades of climate alarmism. Now, I'm right in front of this because when James Hansen started opening his stupid-looking face, talking about how, OMG, carbon dioxide is going to kill us all, it's going to kill us all because it's going to get so hot that everything's going to evaporate and we're going to live in a hot box, when the fact is, if the temperature went up 2 degrees Celsius, what would happen is Siberia and northern Canada would open up as the most perfect, most fertile farmlands you've ever seen in your life, as permafrost turns into farmable land. So let's go through some debunkage. Humans are not causing a 6th mass extinction. The Amazon is not the lungs of the world. Climate change is not making natural disasters worse. Fires have declined 25% around the world since 2003. The amount of land we use for meat has declined by an area nearly as large as Alaska, and it's all because of more efficient things. So don't believe the hype. Listen to the people who actually look at the statistics and understand the way they relate to other data. People who understand atmospheric physics. Some of us actually do, believe it or not. Carbon dioxide has nothing to do with climate change on the Earth. It's a trace gas comprising only 0.04% of the atmosphere. The main greenhouse gas on planet Earth, folks, is called water vapor, and this is why it stays warm at nighttime. So increased clouds cause it to be colder in the daytime and warmer at nighttime, which is exactly what we see. It seems to be mitigated by things like cosmic ray flux and volcanic aerosols, and I've talked enough about this. Anyway, this guy seems to be a patriot. Next, looking at lightningmaps.org before we talk about more weather stuff. And whether or not stuff is striking is something that can help you out. Again, lightningmaps.org. Next time you hear thunder, and it looks like southern Illinois is getting some thunder. Hey, St. Louis, get outside and look to your southeast. You may see some sprites up there, as that is a lively thunderstorm. Hey, Belleville, there's thunder rolling in. Also, Centralia. And that's not Centralia, Pennsylvania, by the way. Perhaps someplace that we'll do a video on. Maybe we'll go to Centralia sometime and talk about the ongoing coal fire, where it's basically a gateway to hell. Anyway, quite a bit of lightning here across the Americas. Next, looking at water vapor maps for Africa and Europe. It's a value-added service. Water vapor maps for the Far East and Oceania. Water vapor maps for the Western world. Isn't that an amazingly gorgeous little marble, folks? Water vapor maps for the U.S. And check this area out right here. We've got a low pressure surrounded by dry air. It's rotating counterclockwise. and being completely held in place. Let's take a look at the convergence over southern Illinois and Missouri, eastern Missouri. Missouri. We call it Missouri, where Missourians come from. And we're going to look at one more view here. That should help folks to be able to understand how these storms are going to move, and they're going to stagnate a little bit here as we don't have a lot of jet stream interaction with any of these systems. They're going to take their time moving to the east. And since I'd like to know what's going on above my head here, let's take a look at this. As we've got a weak low pressure system here over around Cape Cod, otherwise known as Cape Cad, and that is affecting my system. I think I've got clear skies. I'm going to go out and see if I can see Venus, as it's kind of high in the sky. Next, looking at the U.S. Doppler radar map here. And those storms don't look too severe there, although they are generating a bit of lightning. Some stronger storms there in northwestern South Dakota and North Dakota. By the way, again, check out smashomash.com/forum. We've got all kinds of stuff on there. Thanks everybody who's been setting up accounts. We've got forums on cosmology, Earth and geophysics. And there's some very interesting science coming out right now, folks, so don't stop reading the science books. And I have been smAsho. So I don't know if you're aware of where the name came from. It happened in 1999 when I started multiplayer first-person shooter gaming. And that's where the clan came from. Hey, thanks to the Smash team, by the way. Shout out to everybody leaving comments, sharing on your social media. We greatly appreciate your interactions. And please don't forget to share on your social media. Don't forget to press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, as censors indicate fraud, political bias, and spyware emanating from big tech. By the way, thanks for flying, American Smashways. Again, please leave us a comment if you're viewing live or viewing Memorex. And please keep your head and arms inside the Smash plane at all times. As we move into a bonus features. First of all, the intensitygram, showing us 0 sunspots. The colorized magnetogram, showing us places to keep an eye on. And when I say eye on, the pun is intentional. That's the most magnetically organized area that I see. What say you? And lastly, let's do a 304 angstroms 48-hour video from SDO as we see a bunch of filaments here in the east. Let's take a look at those and call it a day. Again, thanks for tuning in, folks. Remember, stare at the sun. Don't drink, no matter how much governments, corporations, and NGOs drive you to drink. Unless you want to, then do so, and just don't drive. Even if you don't drink, don't drive, because it sucks. We've got major filaments here in the northeast, especially. There's a giant filament there in between that active region and us right now, making the sun look a little darker in that area. So have a good one. We'll see you for more content soon. Thanks, especially everybody who views the live premieres, as we love interacting with our viewers. And may that solar wind be at your back, and that covidiously absent from existence.